Welcome to Badass Banking. I'm Brian Claggett, your host today, and we have a very special guest. I'm actually, you probably could tell by my background, I'm in a new place called Virtual London. And I've got a special guest today. His name is James Marshall, and he's dialing in from his imaginary kitchen, which is a very badass kitchen. So for those of you that don't know James Marshall, he's the VP of Product Experience at JSC Federal Credit Union. This is, by the way, he's from London, and he works between Wisconsin and Texas. So we're not sure what kind of accent he's going to develop over time. But he's an interesting chap. He's got a background in product management and analytics. I love the analytics part. He and I spent a little time at Money 2020 this year. He's also responsible for marketing operations, integrated marketing, and he is all about driving top-line revenue supported by really good experiences. So, James, how are you today?
Very good, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
Wouldn't think of having anyone else today. You are the guy. Tell us a little about your Filene Research Institute background. I know you had a significant role there.
Yeah, so it's been a couple years since I've been at Filene, but when I was there, I ran what some of you might know as the Cooperative Trust or the CRASH programs, right? So CRASH, the GAC, is the big one that everyone knows. And I was very lucky to be involved with that program for about 4 or so years. And the goal there was really to engage young adults in the credit union system. You know, we've been talking about this for years, and not just credit unions, but financial services. We do a really average, for lack of a better phrase, job at engaging the next generation of not just consumers and members, but talent, volunteers, people at board level. And so we built this community founded by Brent Dixon, for those of you know that man, followed on by Lauren Colt after me, who's now at CU Insight, and now Courtney Angeli, who's still at Filene. But this community's been built that allows people, and young people specifically in the credit union system, and those who feel young at heart, right? We don't want to exclude anybody. I say we, I haven't been there for a while now. But those who are young at heart who want to engage and further the credit union system. And so it was a really great community. When I came on, we had about 200 or so people involved. And by the time I left, we had over 2,000, which was really great. And we were able to obviously crash the GAC, which grew exponentially. And so that was a really great time at Filene. And during all of that, I was able to be involved with some of our innovation capacity, helping teach the Filene method, which is a human-centered design-based innovation practice. So helping to teach that to credit unions across the country. I was able to speak at a ton of conferences on the research we've done around young adults in credit unions. And I was able to just work with a lot of credit unions doing research around their young adult issues. And so very lucky to have spent that time there.
So how is it a guy from the United Kingdom comes to America to save American credit unions?
Completely by accident. You know, those of you that know George Hofheimer at Filene, I'm sure he said this to me once, and I'm not even sure it's his phrase, but I'm going to credit it to him. He said, finding yourselves in credit unions is like finding yourselves at Denny's at 2 a.m. You have no idea how you got there, but now you're there, you're going to hang around for a while. And so, you know, I found myself working in a credit union straight out of college in the UK, found out I loved it, and wanted to look for opportunity. And I was very lucky to meet the guys at Filene who saw something in me, for some reason. And I was very lucky that they brought me out, and I had a great career with them, very thankful, and obviously had some time at PSCU and now with JSC Federal Credit Union.
Now, tell us a little about what you're doing at the credit union and what's exciting you now that they're doing. I mean, I know you are still commuting between Houston, the Houston area, and Madison. Is that correct? Wisconsin?
Well, there's no commuting happening right now, but I don't really want to touch on COVID for all the right reasons. So I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, but yeah, so JSC Federal Credit Union, for those of you that don't know, is the credit union for Johnson Space Center. So that's NASA based out of Houston. So it's a really great legacy and fantastic history for the organization. I'm very lucky to report to our Chief Experience Officer, Hillary Law. And my role is VP of Product Experience. So, you know, product Management is a new role for the organization. It's a new office, and we're really excited to build that out. So we're really foundational there right now, and really looking at what's coming next, what are our product life cycles, what can we build that's exciting. Outside of that, I think you mentioned up top, I'm looking after our marketing operations. So that's, keeping things turning. We have a great digital team. We have a wonderful retail team. And so our marketing operations team is kind of helping those guys stay aligned, make sure they're getting things done. And finally, our integrated marketing team, which really is looking at our product and channel delivery end to end across the organization and making sure that we're delivering things into market that we want to. We have got so much going on between some new additions we're adding to our products. We've got new product launches coming out. We're upscaling our technology, and we're really trying to do things different. We're trying to be a technology company with the heart of a credit union, right? One of my favorite phrases is that if credit unions keep doing credit union things, they're going to keep getting credit union results. And that's not to say that's necessarily a bad thing, but we talk about the credit union system a lot, and what we find is that really our market share hasn't increased significantly in the last 30 years.
Right.
I think we're around 6, 7, 8% nationally in terms of total credit unions and total market share. And so if we keep doing the same things, we're going to keep getting those results. Right. And so there really has to be a shift in dynamic. And so without trying to use all the catchphrases and all the buzzwords, we're really lucky that we have a wonderful CXO who is moving us in an agile direction. So we're putting in safe agile into the organization and moving away from that traditional waterfall implementation scheme. To help us build products, to help us launch technology. We are building a whole member experience team to help look at that journey from end to finish. I have the product experience team looking at those product journeys from end to finish, from start to finish, sorry. We have a lot of wonderful talent coming in from across the country, across our lending teams, across our retail teams, across our digital teams. And so we're really building something special at JSC Federal Credit Union. And it's an organization that people should be excited to be at. It's an organization that one day, and I think this video might come back to haunt me when I say this, but I very much doubt it. I wouldn't be surprised if when we get to where we want to be, you'll see us on the Wall Street Journal.
There you go. Well, that'd be exciting. What excites me is the fact that, you're using product to de-commoditize the industry and the products you offer. I mean, and I've said this on every show, and I've said this since I started in banking in the 1980s. Banking is remarkably boring. And it's boring from a customer or member perspective as well. It's something they don't like to think about. It's nothing they want to do. It doesn't excite them at all. It's a chore they have to do. And fundamentally, most banks and credit unions are, to them, utilities. And there's an opportunity to be so much more. And I think that's what you're doing from a culture perspective and what you're doing from a product perspective. So let me ask you, what can credit unions do to make banking, if it's possible, badass?
I've had this conversation a lot, Brian, and the one thing about credit unions is the business model is phenomenal, right? It's a member-owned business model. The profit, quote unquote, goes back to the members in returns of higher dividends, lower loan rates. So the business model in itself is already badass, right? The way in which we deliver that business model hasn't changed in 30 years. To your point, banking has been commoditized. I think about it like my cable company. I never want to call my cable company. I put it off as long as I have to. And when I do, it's the biggest chore, right? And that's how people feel about banking. And so to really make it badass, it's about making a place that people want to be, right? It's not, think about the places that you want to hang out. I like hanging out by the lake. I like going to football games. I like,
now, wait a minute. Which kind of football games are we talking about?
Well, football here, I'm not a soccer fan at all. I think that's the worst.
You're a rugby player. That's right. Okay. I gotcha.
So, it's one of those things like, how do we take that community and build it into financial services, right? You look at these financial services that are thriving. Look at somewhere like SoFi, right? They did what credit unions could have done a long time ago. They built a community around this concept of graduates from colleges and said, hey, these graduates are going to fund other graduates to help relieve their student debt. And it became this huge community. And there's a feel of pride around it. When you pay off your loan at SoFi, they send you a SoFi hoodie.
Wow.
I'm a part of the SoFi group on Facebook, and people are clamoring for that stuff.
So they're celebrating success with their community.
Celebrating success with their community. And so credit unions are very uniquely positioned to be able to do that, unlike most other financial institutions across the country, but they've not found a way to leverage that through product or brand.
Right.
And so, to really make the model more relevant today than it ever has been, because again, I don't think the model is irrelevant. I think the model is phenomenal. I think that's never going to change. But the way we deliver that has to change through our technology, through our product, through our brand, through the way that we consider community. Community when credit unions started were organizations. I think of the postal service credit unions, the airline credit unions, those kind of things. And they are fantastic communities. But when you think about the people that work in those communities, in 2020, that could be 4 or 5 years of their life, and then they're onto something else.
Right. Yep. Very good point. Now, is there a bank? Let's talk about a bank for a minute. Is there a bank or a fintech other than SoFi that you really admire? And if you could, tell us a little why.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google it super quick because I can't remember the exact coding of the numbers. So give me a second.
Yeah, no worries.
It's based in Australia, and it is 86400.
86400. I'm gonna write that one down. I've never heard of them.
86400. Australia's first smart bank.
Interesting.
They're doing phenomenal work. Belinda Hogan is their CFO there. I actually met her at the World Credit Union Conference back in 2013 in Gdansk, Poland. And so I've kind of tracked her career and seen what they're doing. But they're just doing a phenomenal thing, right? They're doing that no-fee banking, building great rates. Everything's based in Australia, which is a big deal for Australia, similar to it is here, right? They're doing all the technology you want, so you can pay with your card, mobile, your watch. They track all your subscriptions. Everything's mobile. You see these mobile banks now, but I think 86400 are really doing the right thing. One of the things they've also started doing, which I really appreciate, is a ditch the printer campaign, getting rid of checks altogether.
I hate checks. They're horrible. Horrible.
When I'd never written a check before in my life before I moved to the US, and I had to ask my colleague at Filene when I paid my first month's rent how to write a check.
Yeah, it's barbaric. My son hates it. He says, "quote unquote," checks are stupid.
Yeah, I think he and I will get along very well. So they're really doing a good job of bringing banking into the 21st century and leveraging some great technology. And I also think Belinda would probably be a great guest for you.
That sounds interesting. 86400. So tell us what else is going on. I know you don't want to talk about COVID. I think we're over it, right? All I can say is please wear a mask. I mean, everyone should be wearing one. But what's your prognosis? You think we're going to come out of this okay? You think we may actually come out as a people stronger?
Yeah, I'm an optimist, Brian. I think that I'm not sure when this is going to end. I had this very conversation last night with a friend of mine. I said it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, could be 24, it could even be 36, heaven forbid. But, at the end of it, I think humanity is a fairly robust species.
Yeah.
We've survived a lot and come off the back. When you look at some of the things that the human race has been through and certain people have been through and certain countries have been through beyond this, I think we can survive. I hope we become stronger. I hope that this becomes, for me personally, a driver of a world economy. I think we've very much seen that certain economies can't survive on their own. I don't think the US is an exception to that. I think we've seen what's happened to the economy here. And so I'm really hoping, I'm kind of aiming for that sort of Star Trek economy, that world economy where walk up to something and order a dessert and it appears for you. I'm very much kind of pushing for that, but we'll get through this. We've had some great leadership at our organization who have been really responsive and done a great job in responding to this pandemic. I know that there are other fantastic institutions around the country that are doing very similar things. And so, I actually got an advertisement through Facebook somehow because Facebook is listening to everything that we do. From Barbados.
There you go.
Bring out 1 year remote work visas.
Yeah. There's another country doing that as well. I think that's actually brilliant.
Right.
I mean, and they're suffering obviously in the Caribbean, especially I think they're in the southwestern Caribbean. Tourism has just it had to have plummeted. So that makes perfect sense. And by the way, Barbados is a really good place, home of Rihanna, if I recall.
Yeah. So
Pretty dialed into pop culture. No one knew that.
not something I expected. Didn't peg you as a big.
That's why it's called the Badass Banking Channel. And I've got a daughter that keeps me in line. That's the story. Listen, it's been awesome talking to you. If anyone needs to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
LinkedIn's probably the best bet. Just search my name and probably JSC Federal Credit Union. I'm sure I'll pop up right at the top there.
And I'll post links to both in the comments section below.
I'm also on Twitter at James W.T. Marshall, so that's probably another good spot to find me. But only if
that's how we met originally, right? Was Twitter.
Yeah, but follow at your peril. You'll see a lot of rugby and Badger football stuff. So those will be the two things that you'll probably see most out of me on Twitter.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, I think I'll probably have you back on again with another guest. I'm actually going to mix it up. I'm going to have 2 to 3 people on at one time. I've got some panel ideas. So for you out there that are watching this show, like, subscribe, dislike, comment. It's all about engagement. Thank you very much. James, it's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.